So, this is my first video on Toyota Supras. I'm a collector of these cars and I actually have 3 of them. This is the first one that I purchased of the MK4s. I've had a couple other Supras as well. I had a 1980 Celica Supra and a 1987 Mach 3 Supra. So this is my first MK4, and I purchased this back in 1999 when it was less than 1 year old. So I've had it now 22 years, going on 23 years, and this is the one out of my 3 that's normally aspirated, so it's not a turbo. This car is 100% stock, and except for the window tint, I added that about 3 years ago. So I'm going to bring you over and let you see a little bit more about the car. As you can see, it's black, it's dirty, I haven't cleaned it in a while. Originally from New Jersey, moved to Florida a few years ago, and you can see that car's in pretty good shape. Not much is wrong with it. The only thing that needs to be buffed out is that little scratch there, and you would think that was from somebody leaning on the car, but it was not. It was from a surfboard that fell down from my garage and actually went and fell in between that fender and just rubbed against it and scratched it. So that's the only thing that's wrong with the car. Otherwise it runs perfect. Toyota Supras are known for a couple of things, and I have 3 of these so I can verify things that are unique to this car. So the first thing is, if you pull the you can see the trunk release here. You pull that, and all mine do this. Doesn't work. It doesn't pop it all the way, so you have to use your key. And then I put my shoulder here and I lift it up. So that's that. For those of you that don't know much about the car, they have these built-in covers to put a shade in the back to protect the things that are in the back in the hatch area. And also these things, these platforms, this and this and this, they hold the removable roof, the Targa roof. It's the storage for it when you drive, and that is a center speaker. So that's the stock. That's what a stock hatch looks like of a Toyota Supra, whether it's turbo or not. It's the same thing. So that is that. Again, we'll go in the car here, and I'm gonna start it up. And you can see this is the steering wheel, and it's time to start it up. I'm gonna put my key in. See, it started right up. That clicking is my cassette player that I use with my Amazon Echo. Pretty cool. Put the air conditioning on. Turn off the lights I left on. By the way, Supras have a back in '98 was a really good feature. If you leave the lights on up here, if you leave these on and you shut the car off, it automatically when you turn the ignition off and turn the key in the off position, it automatically did shut the lights off. A lot of old cars, you had to shut the lights off by hand, otherwise you could drain your battery. So that was pretty cool. And you can see this is the driver's side of a made for US consumption Supra. So this is the cockpit on the left hand side looking out, driver's side, and there's the passenger side. Since I'm ragging on Supras today about things that are unique to them, that always are consistently not a problem, but just one of the negatives. Beyond that hatchback release that doesn't pop the trunk all the way, so you have to go and use your key. Supras were notorious for when you ran your air conditioner inside the car, if you had it on high, the air coming out of these vents would blow little pieces of foam. And periodically, when I run my air conditioner I will get hit in the face with a piece of foam that basically is used inside the car and inside the duct work for the air conditioner. They must have used a foam that unfortunately over time just starts to give way and break apart. Air conditioner works great, but you do get periodically, especially after periods of sitting, a little bit of foam that will shoot out of that. It's very normal. It's happened in all three of my cars, and it's happened more, it seems to be more pronounced with mileage. So the greater the mileage in the car, the more the foam seems to have a tendency to break apart. So you can see that this is a normal cockpit and gauge assembly, 100% stock, no modifications. You can see this is the original stereo, and you can see that automatic. The only thing I added was a little cup holder here that I do take out periodically because I don't want to stretch this rubber too much. But so that's it for today's video on my first video on Supras. You can see the mileage on my car here is 50,362. When I bought this car, it had, I think, 18,000 miles on it. I'm gonna have to go back and look at my title because it has it on the title, but I'm pretty sure it was 18,000. So I've put in 22 years, I put on about 30,000 of my own miles. So you can do the math on that one. It's about 1,500 miles a year. I don't drive the car much. It's really good shape. It runs good. I used it last night. Took it up to school. I teach a investments class up at Florida Gulf Coast University, and ran it on the highway, and it runs great. And the last thing I'll say about this car, two things. One, never seen the inside of a Toyota dealership for service. Two, never changed anything in the motor. Spark plugs are original. The only thing I changed was the serpentine belt. At right around 20 years old, I proactively changed the serpentine belt, the main drive belt under the engine, which the next video I'm going to pop the hood and let you see the engine. But this car is 100% stock, and I avoided taking it to the dealership. The only thing I've done to this is change the oil periodically, and again, I changed that serpentine belt. So luckily this car and my other two cars, the other two Supras that are twin turbos, they've never had to be serviced by a dealership. Luckily, they run really well, never had any problems. I've replaced batteries in them a couple times. That's the only thing. And you have to remember, these cars sit a lot, so because I don't drive them every day. So that's part of the problem with the batteries, is me letting it sit. I do try to keep them on a tender, battery tender, but I don't always plug it in. So guilty as charged. I'm not diligent enough to maximize the life of my batteries, but I generally do get 4 or 5 years out of a battery. So the only thing on this car that's been replaced is the battery, the serpentine belt, and the power antenna. The power antenna on these is a stiff rod metal telescoping antenna, and in all my cars I've left them up going through the car wash at one point or another, and I've had to replace those, and I do it myself. So I don't mind doing it, but it's just one of those things that it's annoying when it happens. So car runs really well, and I have replaced the wiper blades too. I lied, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. I'm looking at them now. I have replaced the wiper blades, but the engine and the transmission, the drivetrain, never. Brake pads, yes. I think one time I changed the brake pads in this car, probably at like 30-something thousand miles. It's about due to have it done again because the brakes are pulsating a little bit, so I'm going to change the pads and the rotors. I'm looking now, researching which ones I want to use to make sure they work really well, because I'm picky about that. But again, no complaints with this car. Runs really well. And next video, we're going to look at the engine a little bit. So that's all for now. Bye.